Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Take TV podcast for round 12. We've got a bit to discuss, the start of the buys. Can we move through them nicely, come out the other end? The boys are here to discuss, so we'll talk over a few things, including obviously our weeks quickly, MVP and the fault as usual. Bit of news. It's Monday, so not quite as much news as we usually have on a Tuesday, but we'll talk over some things there. Some concerns. Some concerning premiums popped up on the weekend, or maybe not premiums anymore. We'll talk about that. Obviously, the rest of the buys and some targets and some strategy, and then we'll finish with some Q&A. I put a tweet out today to get a few questions, and there's quite a few. So, George, how's your weekend, mate? I know the Crom went down, but how's the Supercoach?
Crom out the 8, but double up on West Coast, so we're good. Team went. It's hard to say whether you did good or not because it balances everyone's buys are different. But yeah, this week 1,842. I guess you could say it's not great. Went from 1.7k to 2.1k. Hopefully better soon. Trades were out goes Sturt, Atkins, and Seamus Mitchell. In comes Ford, Stewart, and Big O'Sheen Mullen. Not really one you should go early on, but circumstances, I just did it anyway. Got a score from him. Team's in okay shape besides the trade count, and few problems have presented the North boys. So MVP and fault of the week. Start with the fault of the week. Do you want to say it? No, I'll let you say
it. He's been praying for his downfall for like 2 months.
Nah. Jack Ziebell, it was a good sight for me on a Sunday. It wasn't looking good that game early, but Jack Ziebell, that was quite funny. Watching him kick it into the stands, and honestly, I'll probably lost in the game. North, I wanted them to win, but wasn't. Something always tends to go wrong, and like they've been in probably the last few games they've played, but yeah, it wasn't.
I think that is the annoying part of Ziebell's score. But even though he'd been poor at that point in the game, if he nails some of those long kicks down the line, he probably still could have like scratched and clawed his way to a mid-80s, even maybe a low 9 scale and was going.
Yeah.
And instead, straight into the bin.
Interesting to hear what you guys are doing, or JD, or what you would do if you had him. I would speak about that after. But geez, he looked every bit a 32-year-old. Maybe even looked like a 40-year-old the way he was playing to my eye. Anyway, MVP of the week. No one really did that great this week. I guess English. 156 was great. Not captain, but no Briggs. So I guess a lot of the people with Briggs didn't have English. I guess some did, which would have been great. Like I think yourself, Anno. But yeah, for him to go well when Briggs did well, I guess it was good. So thank you, Timothy English. JD, how was your week?
My week was okay. I mean, as you said, the bye week, we look at the full 1 month period, I think, to what you do over it. But started out strong week one with the 1975, which moved me up 100 or so spots to just outside the top 200 overall now, which is obviously a pretty good place. But I'm looking at round 14 and 15 and getting very nervous around my ranks over the remaining weeks. My trades were pretty simple, just Samson Ryan out to Ford. I like Briggs. I brought him in fantasy, but I just thought I couldn't use just one score and then one trade bring him in, one trade bring him out, and that'd be worthwhile. However, after week one, that may have been the wrong call, to be honest, because 80 points this week plus the cash he's going to make, it might have been enough to get the job done, to be honest, and be worth those trades. MVP. I'm going to have to give it to the top scorer for players over 180 centimeters tall, Christian Petracca, with his 159. I think Midge was the only one that actually pipped him there in the end. But yeah, had the vice captaincy on him, so that was a good way to start the week. And the fault, we can't just pile North boys, can we? So do you know what? I'm going to give it to Cogs, who's kind of flown under the radar these last few weeks with how bad he's been. But it's particularly disappointing because Josh Kelly was sacrificed to the footy gods, as he is routinely every year. And it looked like that Cogs was going to be able to put some good scores together on the back of that. He had been, there was, one of Kelly or Green out. And in the last 2 weeks, he's gone 87 and 81. And it's just not good enough. He's got a terrible ratio every week. He's butchering the ball. not a good brand of footy to watch. And worst of all, they had a soft matchup with the Tigers midfield as well when it comes to Supercoach scoring anyway. So to see him put up when you've got Butters killing you week in, week out, we kind of got a little bit lucky with saved a bit. But, I mean, it feels like I'm losing 50 points to Butters every week on average from Cogs. So he's I can't give him a big enough -3 this week.
Yeah, it's fair enough. He's going well in fantasy. He just can't put it together for whatever reason in Supercoach this year. For me, I scored a 1938 and just sit outside the top 1,000. So I was here about 6 weeks ago, I think. A few bad calls, or a couple bad calls, and then a couple unlucky calls as well. Sort of pushed me back a bit, but climbed about 250 spots. Used all 3 trades this week, so I had 13 down to 10 now. Had Mitchell, Simpson, and Cowan out, so a couple of dead wood there. Simpson's not back, wasn't straight back in. Maybe he gets back in at some point, but doesn't look like he's going to play the rest in the other buys, so not useful. Atkins was going to make way, but Seamus, as we know, was a laid out, so it was him instead. And then I got in DC, who I quite liked, but a bit cheaper, so just save some money, and that's going to help me upgrade this week as well. Got Briggsy in, which obviously very happy about now.
Andy.
Obviously Unageti scored this week, but it was points, and it's going to be quite a bit of cash too. And then obviously 4 that everyone did. Briggsy can be the MVP. I think I called him Briggsy Smalls in my title, and I was loving
Big
it.
Rig Briggs.
Look, not when he kicked that second goal. It was sort of look, if anyone's going to kill us, at least it's Briggs. At least it's Briggs, like, out of all the players in the Giants team. He played super well. He's actually really, really good. So some of his taps were unbelievable.
I'll have a little event, because for those that got the Darcy injury, you could not have had a luckier landing pad than this. Like, you made cash and you got better than most other people did. It's like crazy fortunate for that to happen all at once. But I mean, I liked him as a pick. I think all of us did. He was a strong recommendation, but kick 2 goals, including 1 in crunch time, and get all that scaling, like, far out. That is like mega punish for those that didn't jump on. But that's just the way Supercoach goes sometimes.
Yeah, he deserved. Nank's not the easiest matchup in the world, and he held his own.
No, he did really good. Like, he looked very, very good. Job security is 100% for the next 2 weeks.
We captained Rowan a few weeks ago against Briggs, and we were thinking, okay, Viv or Ruckman.
We probably got lucky, really.
Yeah. In the first half, Rowan was on 40. I'm like, Briggs is all right. Probably should have seen this coming, maybe, but Rowan had the good second half. But we saw how good he was by watching him. So,
yeah. Big decision this week, Rowan or Briggs. Who are you fielding?
All the Gorn owners are like, what do I do here? Who do I hold here? So it's an interesting one. Yeah. I mean, there's that many fakes. Yeah, I've got fakes in my team, and honestly, I'd rather run Briggs at R2 and then fix up everything else rather than run a fake at F6. Don't get me started on my F5 and F6 at the moment, but we'll get to that after.
We'll get to them in a sec. I won't let the fault get away. It probably has to be Sam Walsh after probably his worst game in, I don't know, since one of his rookie season games. So only the 72, and even lower in fantasy. So probably got away there with a better score than I would imagine watching him play. Just looked lost, and as Carlton probably summed them up really at the moment.
So just quickly on this, right? Like, easy to just chalk it up to bad game and move on, but it's very uncharacteristic of Walsh. So I just quick check. One, are you worried? 2, what do you think it is? Do you think it's something to do with preseason? Do you think it's role related? Do you think it's just Carlton being bang on average? What happened? Because to me, at least when I watch, I don't watch and go Sam Walsh is horrible. It doesn't look like he's playing that badly. It's almost a little bit like what happened with Doherty when he had his down patch before getting injured, where to me, I didn't think he was playing that bad. He had a few clangers here and there, but it wasn't obvious to me why his scoring was so bad. And it feels like Walsh is almost in the same boat now.
It's funny, man. I think he's probably over the threshold again of forward time because of that game again. It's just the timing was bad there. So if he was a forward, I wouldn't be too concerned. Obviously, he's got to just stay in my team as an M7, M8. In regards to why, I don't know. Kennedy back in the midfield, he's been half back midfield. Him and Chera, they just don't have the mix right. But obviously plays a part. Sam had back surgery on the off season. He was going 110 until this week. So, I'll probably cut him some slack. Maybe the bye will be good for him and he can go all right after that. But Carlton don't give you much confidence, do they?
Just the 39% CBA is kind of after averaging about 50% the last month. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, if this had come 1 week early, you'd be looking at a forward.
If I copped it last week and he was a forward, I'd be okay.
You'd be like, whatever. Yeah.
Unfortunately not. So we live and we learn. Should have got track at the time, which I was keen on, but I flip-flopped.
We live and we learn. Like, this is a brutal part of Super. Like, things can miss out just by, 0.1%. Same thing with Gawn last week. And then, Darcy injury happens, but silver lining, you fall into Briggs. Like,
timing.
I think sometimes people get confused with, I made a good move with, I just lost one a coin flip. And that's what some of these feel like at this time of the year.
Yeah, I've lost a few. Took Callum Mills didn't help, but hey, I'm sitting at 1,000, so hopefully I just want to push maybe top 500 this year and go all right. But that's the difference between maybe top 500 and top 50. So it is what it is. All right, let's get to some news. I mean, we don't have major news obviously with the injury front as they sort of all get released tomorrow, but there's a couple. What we do know is Clary's pretty much a cert to play. I think they were saying that sort of before last weekend, so you'll get him back, JD.
That's the plan. I will say I was already on Demon Land today, checking religiously for training updates.
Was he feeling his hammy?
He actually out there training today, which would have been a concern if it wasn't for the fact that the whole squad had a bit of a long weekend. So I believe they resume training tomorrow to be back on Demon Land checking the updates.
Yeah. DeGoey, if anyone has him, obviously we know there he's going to be out for a lot of weeks. So I was kicking myself last week that I didn't take the punt, but I knew there was a reason I didn't go there, and it showed up this week.
I must say I'm very pleasantly that I never recommended him and said after my experience last year I could not recommend him at all. And yes, this wasn't the exact reason as last year, but yeah, I'll give myself a tick for that one.
Yep. And as I said, there's not a hell of a lot of other news we know injury-wise. Any obvious ones that we know of that sort of...
Big dude I did his ACL.
Second
I
one.
only raised that because Josh Worrell, I think, is a direct replacement. I think
he scored
he'll be
100,
right.
didn't he, in his first game?
Yeah, scored 100 this week.
Elevated price.
He can score, so I think he's low 300, so not really a play. If it was 200k, he'd be a great downgrade, I think, in 2 weeks. But anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. So I just thought
Another relevant one's Eddie Richards, maybe with Dale and Daniel, but of course they got this terrible buy, so it's just really hard to.
Dale's going to be uber premium.
Yeah,
it's been a good pickup from a few weeks ago if you got him.
Yep.
The other injury that may be relevant is Jai Menzies. So I believe he actually did pick up a concussion after receiving Ziebell's knee base, and that could be relevant for those that hold Davey still. He may come back and play again this week, although he wasn't particularly good in the twos. And speaking of the twos, Essendon's first round pick, Elijah Sardis, played his debut game for the VFL on the weekend, returning from the MCL in the preseason, 18 touches and a goal in the first 3 quarters, then was held out. Apparently, he's now cleared to play a full game. So that is someone that the timing of him kind of looks like he could back and maybe playing even in the ones around post-bye, and that could be a downgrade M9 target. And George is smirking because, of course, we're talking about the Dons. But when it was Dodie and his ACL was relevant,
I was going to say it.
History of the game. Then it's all good. It's all good. But no.
Since we're talking about VFL, why don't we just go to under 14s?
Let's talk about Kobe Buick, the GOAT. 2027 Supercoach lock. Have him in your sides, ready to go. Bomber father son. Kicked 9 goals in the under 14s on the weekend for those that are playing at home.
Since we've gone to lower leagues, I'll mention the Eagles. No, that's a bit of a kick. But yeah, another 3 or so injuries for them. We could see that mid-season draft pick, Ryan Marrick, I think. I don't know. It's either way. I saw a video saying, but he might come in, so we'll see what happens.
102k forward. So he's one. It looks like he could be in sooner rather than later.
All right, time for the concerns. I'll I'll sit back and I'll see what you guys say. But first up's the two North boys. So, I mean, Ziebell, 172 break even, as we see there, down to, is it 510K, boys, something around there. And then Sheezel, 460K, and then 119 break even. So, what did you see, George, in regards to role? Like, Sheezel started defense, but then got moved to midfield again. So, sort of the reverse of last week. But yeah, Aaron Hall, what do you see?
Can I just say, I wish you traded him in a few weeks ago. I think that would have been funny. Anyway.
Thank God I did.
Just for the reaction.
Oh, my
All right,
God.
So I am a bit overreactionary as usual, so I do panic. I think things can be turned around, but just watching him, he looks cooked to me. Like, I don't know if you saw some of his one-on-one contests, but like he basically gave up on them. It looked really was poor in the eye. His kicking was like some of the worst it's ever been. Not only that, Aaron Hall back there. I think Aaron Hall's hurting Sheezel more because Sheezel started down back, and Sheezel used to be the one running off the back of the square, getting marks through the middle of the ground, setting up play, and that was all the dude in dreads, not Sheezel. So Sheezel looked a lot better forward of the ball, I thought. In the last quarter, if he kicked that walk-in goal, probably would have scored a 90, but not really sustainable way. But yeah, back to Ziebell. You had to get rid of him last week. 170 break even this week, 510K. So you either commit to keeping him or you flick him now, even though you should have done it last week or when he was 600K. I'll be flicking him because I'm worried that he's 32 years old. He looks awful. I think it's been brewing for a few weeks. I did read on Big Footy 2-3 weeks ago that he's been doing limited training or missing sessions. So I can't confirm that, but that's Big Footy, usually pretty accurate, I guess. Anyway, but yeah, I'm jumping off. I'm a bit worried what lies ahead for him just because his age. I could see him falling off a cliff. I could see him coming good, but when I'm not sure, I just get out. So I don't have enough confidence to hold. I think that's my that's where I stand with Ziebell. What do you think, Jackson?
So I realize there's a bunch of injuries that we totally skipped over. So let's jump back to that in a second. In terms of Jay-Z, to finish him off, your mate Bex pointed out to me today, Enno, that he had that plantar fascia injury about 6 weeks ago where he came for 20 minutes. And then really he hasn't looked the good since. I mean, I think he had one good game where he junked it up where they just played kick to kick for the first quarter. But the rest of those 5 weeks is poor scores. Those types of injuries you can play through, but they do linger and they do cause discomfort. So I reckon there's, big bog footy stuff that he was probably carrying something, and that is probably affecting performance, which might be why it's combined with obviously the new coach at the helm as well. So a lot of the advice we're going to give this week comes to, it depends on your team, right? Like what you should do with them, because if you don't have the trades, you can't trade them. You just have to hold. If you do have the trades, I think Jay-Z is someone that you could move. I was hoping to hold these types until they buy and then flip them. But given the break evens, you're going to lose so much money over the next few weeks that I think if you give it to someone coming off the first buy, it makes sense to move them on now. So if you have to keep. But if you're in a position to trade, I'd be sending him packing because I'm concerned enough now that he's going to only be a low 90s from here to the end of the year.
Yeah. A lot of people are probably going to have at least 2 of these players, if not all 3. So I know while a lot of advice is always team dependent. We'll probably give our opinion at the end here, what sort of order we would say we'd flip these in if you wanted to, because
by the way, Cogs not being on this list is
he's only not because these 3 are
talk
here.
about Cogs if you want.
Yeah, I would add Cogs in, to be honest. I don't want him. I would happily buy flip him if I had the trades too. And I probably would do so before some of these others. But anyway.
You would? I think he's only lucky he's not here probably because these 3 exist.
And I'd rather get rid of him than Day, if we're being honest. But that's probably unpopular, but yeah.
Sheezel, George, I think you said a bit at the start there, like Hall's probably affected him the most. That's probably true because, he was on 36, I think, at halftime. playing half back. And he sort of just third quarter, I don't think he sort of found it at all. And then the last quarter was actually quite good in a bit of their, surgeons to try and win the game. Just as you said, missed that goal at the end. But I think this is going to continue going forward, whether it's start the game or finish the game, halfback, midfield. It's probably going to keep just flipping. You can do sort of anything everywhere, but it's just sort of wherever they feel they need him in a game. So it's probably going to continue to be like this. I'll probably lean towards holding him still to the bye and then assess then. But say if you didn't have a Ziebell or whatnot, would you consider trading Sheezel?
If you have the trades too, definitely. I think he's not the worst F6. Just because finding a good forward, it's a lot of people wouldn't have Butters or McRae. They're very, very pricey. It's quite difficult to get to them, and also the buy is not super friendly. So I think I'm probably going to trade. I don't know. I think the role is not. It's not great, but I still think he can do an 85 to 90 if he's playing forward of the ball. Just he looks a lot more. He gets involved a lot in that role, but he needs to kick goals, and he has been. But is it sustainable? Probably not. So I still think roughly 85. I think you can do from here. If that's where you're at, and you can have to hold that, I think that's not ideal. But if it's where you're at, it's where you're at. It's with trades, so I think it's not the absolute disaster hold. Whereas I can see Ziebell completely falling apart. Whereas I think Sheezel, will keep doing, roughly 85 for the rest of the year. Hall out the team, that would be interesting. I'd be more inclined to hold if Hall was out the team, but I think the new coach just wants to play him, and he's getting a lot of usage back there. So, yeah, I would trade if you can, or if you can't, then hold, put it that way.
JD, could we see maybe, I was thinking similar to Dacos last year, maybe Sheezel hits the bye, gets a little refresh, and could he come out and be all right the back half of last year? I know Dacos was still pretty up and down, but he had a couple of big games that sort of helped him.
I think we could, but
for a rookie.
general, at least feel, I haven't got the data to back this up. It is really something we should look into. My feel is that rookies tend to drop off or fade away as the season progresses, not tick up, and what we saw in Dacos is probably the exception to the rule. So Sheezel worries me. I think he's very talented and he could spike some good scores playing forward of the ball, but the reality is he's been brought to the dance. He's scoring as well because he is behind the ball, and this would have been the same for Dacos last year, by the way. If he had been the ball, and even when we did see it in patches last year, he just didn't score as well. I think that's going to be the same with Sheezel. North have been playing okay these last 3 weeks. They've been built, I feel like, and so he's gotten opportunity when he's been forward of the ball and he's looked good. And I think that means they'll persist with the role, because the reason why you want to play someone like Sheezel behind the ball at least to start the year and to start his rookie career is so he doesn't get lost as a small forward where he doesn't get any touches, he loses his confidence, and then all of a sudden it's almost like you've wasted a year of development playing him forward in a poor side. So from what we've seen when he's on the ball, when he's forward, that isn't happening. He's rising to the occasion. He's finding ways to get involved in the game. So I think they persist, which unfortunately means the Supercoach scoring won't be as good. I have him below still from here on out, but I do like that he's probably more durable than Ziebell, which may weigh into people's decisions. Also, which one has more cash if you're looking at one or both. I personally don't want him. He was always in my buy trade plans, has been for the last couple of weeks, and I've seen nothing to change. Someone that I want to get out of if I can. If I've got someone like, I don't know, pick any premium versus Sheezel on the run home from either defense or forward, I'm confidently going to back them in to put 10 to 15 points on the week, which is going to be a really nice point of difference for those that can do it.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's just if you really don't have the trades, you're probably going to have to
you have to make compromises, right? Everyone has to make compromises somewhere, and if it's holding Sheezel, as long as the rest of your team set up well and you can make up points in other ways, that's fine. But for those that are in the position to jump off it, I think that's the play, and that's where you're hoping you get your advantage over the back half of the year.
Yeah, and then Will Day we haven't touched on, but I mean, it's funny, we're talking like we all want to punt the North boys, it seems like. They're averaging 96 and 101, and Will Day's just averaging the 90 points on the season. Is now at 440k, which is basically what I think I bought him for. He's copped some attention, George. So I didn't catch much of that blowout on the weekend, but supposedly Drew was going to him a bit. And then I did see that he did move half back for the second half. So at least it's finally maybe good to see that Sammy Mitchell's trying to help him out there and, avoiding the tag and just sending him back. But it's just annoying that he's a target for every Hawks opponent. Seems like he's the one they go to. They don't worry about the other guys, the inside balls and the poorer ball users. And then with a bit of pressure, he just hasn't been able to use the ball as well. Will Day on the outside, that's probably what's hurt him the most, because he's still finding a lot of it. And look, on the weekend, I think he had no clangers, but it was the week before, right? He had 30 and 6 or 7 clangers, and that hurt him then. So what do you see here? What?
Just quickly, I'm going to go back to Ziebell and Sheezel very quickly. I'm just looking at the marks that North have made.
It's not as much anymore under Ratton.
Nowhere near. It's I think 789, roughly 120 average. I'll get back on this and get it for sure. So 120 average marks, and from 10 to now, it's like 80 or something. So I don't know, but possibly game plan shift. I don't know. Anyway, Will Day.
We also, by the way, haven't mentioned it in the hallway, which is by the name of Aaron, who is back in the side. If he gets dropped, then maybe there's some cause for optimism about these two. But he also 5 out of 9 kick-ins this week, where, up until this point, Ziebell had been taking basically 80-90% of them in a week. So to lose, 5 kick-ins this week, for example, is a pretty big deal, given that that's where a reasonable chunk of his scoring was coming from. So if Hall stays in the side, definitely even more of a reason to jump off. I think if Hall gets omitted for any reason, then that's maybe a little bit of positive, especially if you get those kick-ins back.
All right, talk about
Will Day,
George, and then we'll go to some injuries that JD wanted to raise.
It doesn't look terrible. I think their defense was all at sea, like I've never seen before in the first half. I think they were up by nearly 90 points, Hawthorn at one point. Not Hawthorn, Port were up by 90 points against Hawthorn. So they were struggling. Weddle had his worst second half ever, and Gray's worst first half you could have basically, and second half was much better. And I think they need a Day to help stabilize the defense. He's not really senior body, but they got a few kids back there, so he's helped stabilize that. I'm not worried about the role. Just he actually started scoring better back there. So I don't know. It feels like there's an excuse for Day every week. Like he gets a bit of attention, a bit from Drew. They got smashed, bad ratio, but this week less clangers. I think he's not. The thing is, at D6, there's not a whole lot of great D6s. Like even Sinclair, I'm like looking at him and thinking, I don't even know if I want him, but a lot of people in the slot might have a Luke Ryan who's had a game plan change, or they've had a game plan change at Freo. People looking to Jake Lloyd. So I think Day can go not too far off these guys. So I'm okay with holding. Would I like to trade? Yes. But he doesn't look terrible on the eye. He's just not as good as he was earlier in the year. So I do think there's some good games ahead, but just ride through the bad games, which will come.
Yeah, so just quickly on Day, I mean, I think I had a slightly different perspective, but the one thing you said there, George, which I totally agree with, is it seems to be a different excuse for him every week from holders such as myself. And one thing that I've kind of learnt playing Supercoach over these last couple of years is make an excuse, and it's a different excuse every week for a player. Generally, it's actually just that they're not a good pick and you should move on from them. So you kind of like triggered a oh crap moment, probably this is just a bad pick. But I like him more than the other two, at least we've got on here, I think, as a keeper. And once again, this is where team dependency comes in, or team dependent trades come in, because he's got a different buy and he's also got the least money of these 3 options. But yeah, I will say I think 2 of the last 3 games he's been tagged, and that obviously is at least a observable reason that should change. And especially when you look at his next few games, I don't really see who's tagging him in those.
It's actually quite a nice run after Brisbane this week. Brisbane's Gold Coast.
But Brisbane have been giving up points to midfielders, despite getting the wins. But yeah, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Carlton, GWS, North, Richmond. Like, there's not really too many teams at tag, and I'm actually even surprised that we've seen 2 teams tag day so far. Now, in terms of like what happened on the weekend, that I thought the Hawks midfield got beat pretty badly by. Like, really badly, to be honest. And that's probably partly because Day was taken out of the action, and then Butters and Rosie just creamed whoever else was in there, like Newcomb and Warple and whatever it may be. That's probably part of the reason why the defense was struggling. Yeah, no Sicily hurts, obviously. It's going to hurt any team when you're missing someone like that. It's the same thing with Melbourne where they don't have May, for example. But I just thought that they were winning out of stoppage and clearance so easily that the inside 50s weren't really giving the defenders a lot of chance. Plus, they had mismatches. Like Weddle on Finlay, what was that plan? Like, they adjusted and all that type of stuff. But the reason why I think they moved Day back was just because he'd had no impact to halftime because of the tag, and that freed him up. And he did. You're right, George. Like, he had a great impact, I thought, in the second half. Hawks looked a lot better in that second half, to be honest. But I don't think they moved him back there because the defense. I think they just needed to find a way to get him into the game, and that was more the move that they played. So I still think they need him to come back and play good minutes, but who knows? And anytime, once again, when you're making this many excuses for a player, it's probably a sign that you should just be trading them. And if that's a buy you're struggling on and moving him out can help, then I totally seems to do it. But I'm more inclined to hold him as, one of my couple of fakos that I'll hold.
All right. Before we move off this topic, I said we'd give an answer here. A lot of people might have all 3. So let's say people do, and they have the luxurious position of being able to flick one off this week or in the coming weeks. I mean, it's probably got to be this week since Ziebell's the one there with 170 break even. What or who, George, would you be flicking first? And I think I know the answer, but
Ziebell gone, number 1. I know he's probably got the highest ceiling and still got the role, but I just feel like the downside could be horrific. So Ziebell 1 out. Second I'm trading would be Sheezel, and then third would be Day. And I'm keeping Day for what it's worth, trading the other 2.
Is that because of buys or because you believe in him the most of the 3? Or money, or both, or all 3?
I'd love to trade Day to Jake Lloyd next week. But
yeah, I think we'd love to just flip them all gone, but can't be done.
Well, I think it doesn't even matter with the buy for Ziebell. I see the break even. I'm just worried about the pick, if it holds up or not. So forgetting buys, Ziebell's out. She was a little bit buy related. If he didn't have a buy, I still don't think it's the worst F6 in the world with Sheezel. I don't know. Regardless, like he's not a top liner. You don't really want him in your team, your final team. But I would still trade if you can.
All right. If you're only getting rid of one and the buys don't matter, I'm ordering them Sheezel, probably Ziebell, then Day. Otherwise, if you're getting rid of 2 of them, then get rid of them in the order on screen, which is Ziebell's got to go out first just because of the money that you're going to lose. So, yeah. And then, Enno, where do you sit on these? Do you...
I'd be much the same. It's pretty consensus. They probably both get one more week. I want to see what happens with Sheezel another week, but because that's the only one that could probably flip. Maybe Day before Sheezel, but I think I just trust Day keeping his role a little bit more. Unfortunately, they are throwing a few guys through there more than usual. Like, hard to say on the weekend, like Dillmore getting in there and whatnot, because it was a bit later in the game and they just...
Well, that was when Day came out.
It's very irrelevant.
They did a rotation. Like Frost went forward.
Yeah, I don't take much out of that.
And Day went down back because
that's my point. I trust the 70% he's been getting most of the year more than just this one game. So
I'm not worried about that.
Hopefully, just no clubs decide to touch any Hawks players, although they've been in decent form. So maybe that was part of the Port's thinking early until it was evident that it didn't matter anymore.
I just quickly as well, like if the cash doesn't matter as much, then I'm still in favor of holding these until they're buys and then flipping them then. Like originally awesome was the plan. And so if money doesn't matter as much to you then and you can make that work, then I'd still be in favor of doing that. And also if Hall gets dropped this week, then I think like Jay clearly the keep over Sheezel, even though I already have it as that. But I'd then probably back in Ziebell to keep going on well if there's no haul.
I think both. You'd love it for both of them. You'd love to and Sheezel's maybe a little easy to hold with the lower break even. Like if Ziebell was to implode a third week in a row and go to 450k, it'd be like, wouldn't be nice. But anyway, enough talk about them. It's obviously a big talking point. But
I had a couple of injuries to go over, didn't I? So for the Pies, right, Bo McCrew also went down as well as Degoe out, but I don't think their rookies are going to come in. I'm a little bit worried for Harrison HH as well, right? Because Elliott, Lipinski, and McStay are all meant to be back in this week, which is actually kind of interesting as well to see McStay back and interacts with Cameron. The big news that we've kind of haven't really talked about, I don't think, was the Dogs with Richards looking like he's out for a few weeks with Amy as well. You did? Sorry, I missed that. Okay, so I mean, Dale is like full stream ahead for anyone with him. The Cats, what we've heard this week is Danger, Duncan, and Holmes are all to return after their bye. So I'd say that's pretty poor signs for Ocean Mullen with combined with like kind of Scott's comments about him during the week. And then only other watch might be on St Kilda. So Hunter Clark got ruled out for 6 weeks with his ankle, and then Owens had a concussion as well. So I don't know if Hunter Clark out frees up a spot for Bytel, but I have a feeling he also got concussed in the twos, and we might see Windhager play. So not sure if he'll end up being or not in the back half of the year. I know he's pretty cheap, but those are the only other ones I wanted to cover.
Yep. I think Windhager is 180, so look, a bit elevated, but maybe if he was to secure a spot, could just
come off his bye, and if you need a spot for the last
bench
2 weeks,
cover
right?
for the year or something, as well as that by help. All right, so we spoke about the concerns. Enough about that, but let's get to George's favourite topic, and that's some of the male forward options. This is where he wants to talk about. So look, obviously,
he's looking in disgust at the moment.
We're missing one.
Okay. Tell me
the only one Brownlow.
Okay. Here we go. I'll put him right at the end just for you, JD, and we can get to that later. What is
thank you. Some respect. Come on.
Yeah, like the options with these Ziebells and your Sheezels. Obviously, there's your actual premios, but they all got the dreaded buy. And to be fair, a couple of these do as well. But like you can't really just be going Ziebell to McRae or Butters. It's too much anyway. It's not really helping you as much as you'd like it to. So the other option is to go down. And the one that would help you the most buy-wise, obviously, here is Jeremy Cameron, who I think a couple of people in the Discord went his way. He's a bit of a pod pick and obviously one that will play in the tough buy rounds. He went 80 last week and then 107 on the weekend. So quick thoughts on Jezza George as an option before we get to your favourite real cheapos.
I hate to say it, but he did a hamstring 2021 and 2022.
Yeah.
That rules him out for me. That's just how I am.
I hate to say it, but referencing my spreadsheet of soft tissue injuries, review weekly.
Must we say George is now owner of Tom Stewart, so he's come around somewhat.
Yeah.
And then the first week George gets him, he kicks his first goal in 4 years, so there's some good juju, I guess.
Yeah.
I wish you owned it.
I mean, I really do like Jeremy Cameron as a little bit of a punt. We're actually missing one other one here as well, I realised, in Cameron. But anyway, so Cameron, DCAM.
Not so much we trust him more. These are more your speculative. We'll talk about
I guess so.
later.
Yeah, he's a different tier of just good. So he was flying at the start of the year when they had the full squad, and that full squad should be back really post-bye. So there's some optimism that Geelong's form picks up, which it already kind of has weeks anyway, and that we see Cameron and Tomahawk even scoring better on the back of all of them returning. It's obviously a lot of ifs have got to happen that play out, but with a nice buy and the ceiling that he's got, I like Jeremy Cameron for the last couple of weeks. I still think it's a nice risky option, so I don't have people going there as long as you're aware that it's not a slam dunk pick by any means. There is risk associated with it.
Yeah, 70 break even, 450. It's quite nice, and Jez can go on a big run, but it's still a big run. There's still 10 weeks till the end of the season here, so it's sometimes we think off the buys, and it's Yeah, it's not too far to go. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, because they have the bye this week. Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, you're not going to go there, George. I already know that. Harry Himmelberg's the next one, which, again, a lot of people would be quite interested in if he didn't have the same bye as, the guys you'll be trading out to go to him. Did pop up back in defence, but some part of me thinks that, they have Haynes out. They have coming out still till post-bye.
Davis, Taylor.
Taylor's a big one. Davis, I don't expect to play AFL again if not required. But, is it going to hold for the rest of the season? That's probably the thing.
Nah.
If this popped up, 6 weeks ago, you'd probably be happy to take a punt at 370K. But now on low trades, has the bad buy. It's probably not that much of a smash pick anymore, which is unfortunate. A lot of people love old Double H after what he did last year if you got him for a bit.
Part of this as well, like you got to remember, you're like bailout forwards, right? You still hope you can keep them until the end of the year. Most people are downgrading these as a cheap option to like get them home because they can't afford trades to get up to scale. And I think the issue with someone like Himmelberg is that Taylor's back in a month, I want to say, and one of those games. So really get 3 weeks out of Himmelberg, and then you've got 10 weeks of him playing forward. So unless you're planning to trade him, why are you doing it? And if you're planning to trade him, like, I don't get the same price, you're gonna make more cash. Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me as a pick.
Yeah, and I could quite easily see once Haynes and Taylor are back, he goes back forward and
Cumming as well, right? Cumming's like 3 weeks away. Like
but more like key position.
Who's a couple weeks away to like. There's about 4 defenders to return from the injury. Like he's not playing forward, but it's back for the rest of the year. So Himmelberg off the list, line through. I think we've ruled that one out. Don't do it.
Yep. Ben Keays, George.
Yes.
I know your video.
Yes.
Oh no.
I know your video went out last night and he was not mentioned, but then as soon as it went up, you were studying
the
into the Ben Keays
the
move.
Discord started popping up.
And he went, "Oh, this is my man." Midfield last 2 weeks, is it just 2 really? Like he's had a couple of tagging jobs, played mostly half forward for like almost a year now. It's like half of last year, right, and then started this year. So, what's going on there? Because
first thing I'll say
changing week to week. Is it going to hold?
Okay, so
do you want to make the no case and then you can make the yes case? Because I think you've got a lot to go right. And
we'll get George's yes case first. He's got the notes ready.
Okay. All in here.
I want to leave on a high note. I don't want to be the Ben Keays hater. We've already got enough of those.
I'll say something and then you start. I'm just because I'm a Crow supporter and I'm trading in Ben Keays, it doesn't mean it's going to work. I don't know if the role holds, but I'll just give a bit of preface on like why he's in the midfield and why he wasn't at the end of last year and whatnot. But anyway, JD, what do you speak?
Yeah,
first
so this is the reason why I know Ben Keays. Like up until the last 2 weeks, he basically hadn't spent any time as a midfielder. It had been all forward. Last 2 weeks, 70%, 75% CBAs as tagging roles on 2 big dog mids. Looking forward, do they really have other people they're going to tag? Maybe they've got Dacos at the Pies, but that could be behind the ball. It's not necessarily the ball. So, George, hand it over to you. Why would they persist with Keays in the mids? Beyond these 2 weeks.
I'm not sure, but he's gone in there. Okay.
Pick's dead. Pick's dead already.
Let's. Okay, so again, I'll say it's a bit of a punt, but I think there's a reasonable chance he stays in the midfield. And please understand that I don't want to hold Ziebell. I'd rather bank 150K, go to Keays. He got coaches' votes this week in the midfield. Okay, so last 2021, he played full mid. 2022, he played full mid up until the last month, where he did like a forward tagging job on, I think it was Adam Sard, and just played mostly a forward role. Now, why did they play him forward? The midfield mix wasn't working. So Laird and Keays were getting 20 tackles each a game, basically. Or I don't know, probably like 25 tackles between. 20 tackles between them a game. And the kicking skills weren't super great in the midfield. Laird's an okay kick, but he's not going to kill you by foot. And Berry can't kill you by foot. And Keays certainly can't kill you by foot. So the midfield mix, we're looking really scrappy in there. So I think we needed a bit of a change up. I can't even remember who else we put in there. Probably like Siligo or something. I think maybe Schonberg hasn't really come on.
Yeah.
And Schonberg's kicking is pretty bad too.
Siligo was the one that's lost CBA's come in the last 3 weeks.
So fast forward to this year in the preseason, they stated also another thing is he had an AC joint injury which he played through, and he had off-season surgery for that. That might have been part of the reason why he was moved out of the midfield too. Fast forward to preseason, AC joint surgery, all good. I think it must have been about January. Press conference to assistant coach, where's Ben Keays going to play this year? Mid and forward. That was the plan. And that's where he started, in the forward line. What's happened at the Crows is that the Crows' brilliant drafting strategy of taking all midfielders with second rounders like Berry, Schonberg, Galucci was late first. Anyway, like the drafting strategy has been a failure, and a lot of the midfielders we have just haven't come on for some reason. We're putting Sloan in there. I don't know why Sloan's in there. He's been a warrior for us, but he's like 33. He's slow. We don't need him in the midfield, but they're playing him 40% in there. Keays has been in there 70%. But now that we don't have Berry in there, we have Laird, who's an okay user. We have Dawson, who is a great user, usually. Last month has been a little rough, though. And then maybe the Crows are thinking, well, we can afford to put Ben Keays back in the midfield. He's a high time on ground player. He's pushing 90% time on ground. Coaches votes this week. So I think he'll stay this week. Now, round 15, there's every chance he plays on Dacos. So, yeah, he's had 70% CBAs the last 2 weeks. A few weeks ago when we played Collingwood, I think it was round 7, he had 63% CBAs and scored 50-odd. But Dacos also had 50%. He had the exact same CBAs as Keays. Keays just followed him around. It was pretty much like a hard tag role. So I think there's a decent chance he stays in the midfield throughout the year. If it doesn't, well, shit, we're screwed and cry and going to loop Eddie Ford with him for the rest of the year. That's the plan. So I think it's a bailout option that you hope works. I think it's like a chance it works, but he's done 100 plus. Probably would have done almost 110 last year if his CBAs didn't dry up in the last month. So I'm not expecting. Look, if your CBAs drop a little bit, I think he can do 90 plus in the role. So I think that's okay. But yeah, if I have to give you a big argument to why the pick could work, then you might as well just pay up and go someone better like McRae or Butters, but can't afford that. So I'm trading him in. A bit of hope. I think, yeah, definitely will continue in the short term, but whether they continue that in the long term and he plays 4 tags here and there, I think Dacos, yes, but after that, there's no one really to tag. So he's still winning his own ball. He's played on Neale, he's played on Rao, but he's still getting his own ball. I think he led for clearances, if not top 2. Dawson and Laird struggled for clearances on the weekend. Anyway, that's my case on Ben Keays. Again, it is a little bit of a punt. I'd only do it if you feel like you're sort of in position, like you kind of have to because you don't really know what to do. You don't want to hold Ziebell. You're low on trades, that sort of thing. But yeah, otherwise, if you're being chilling, there's no reason to take this punt.
What's his soft tissue history like?
Very good.
He's one of the fittest there is. Like he's always.
He did get
there. Oh,
I think he got his quad strapped one game early last year, but he played through it. That was about it.
That's unbelievable.
Otherwise, he's played every game.
The spreadsheet's undefeated.
It might have been the hammy. It was a hammy or quad. He got that area strapped at halftime. That was like.
That's class.
I don't think he's missed a game. Like he's the hardest. He's the guy. Like
he's the fittest guy.
Hard worker. Bleed for the club. Like if you said to him, I think deep down he wants to play midfield, but if he's like do this role with anything for the team sort of thing. So he's be a great teammate.
I'll just quickly say the buy doesn't work for me. If I'm trading out of someone like Day, it doesn't at all. I guess for one of the North guys, if you're flipping out of that last buy, you could. But the problem I have with Keays is by then he'll already be probably too expensive. So you kind of have to, which means you're missing him next week, which I don't really love. And then if you're picking him as a keeper, I just don't see the role holding from here to the end of the year. Even if he gets it for 4 or 5 weeks, I think you'd have where he doesn't. Or at least games where they move his role around to, negate someone at halfback or whatever it may be, in their forward line. So I'm worried enough that I probably wouldn't do this. If this was early in the year, I still had trades and it was a cash play, I'd be all on it. And so for those that do have the luxury trades and they want to go down here, I could see it working. Feels much more like a fantasy play where I know Eno brought him in this week with some of the best trades I've ever seen for a week of fantasy. Hand it over to you. Is this someone that you'd endorse in Supercoach format?
Literally was about to finish off Ben Keays by saying this is a pretty much fantasy pick and probably, to be fair, he's the best of this lot. Most like at that price range, Jez is probably better, but a bit more expensive. So like if you're getting Jez at 450, you would probably just get DC, right? I know the buys don't help as much, so that's obviously plays a part there as well. But yeah, I'd be all over it if it was 6 weeks ago, when I had trades and all thought I'd be fine for trades later on. But it's just tough, George. I guess seeing it last out the year, like Rochelle's lost his time in there, and he likes teams like someone you need in there just for a bit of class. So
even like Pedler, I think should get more time in there, but I don't know if his body can handle it or not. Look, I said it 10 times. It's a punt.
Yeah,
if you don't need to do it, don't do it. I'm not telling you to get him. I'm telling you that what the pick is.
Himmelberg, have we spoken about? Would have Keays above, and then Phillips, who we'll speak about now, would have Keays above as well, right? Because Phillips, it's funny to see him at 350k now with a negative break even, but like he obviously a bit of a beneficiary, right? Of this week in game, Hugh going down, Jai going down, and LDU's out of the team at the moment as well. Cunnington's been dropped pretty much for good, it seems like now. So. Unfortunately, Clarko didn't give him a go early on in the season, and he's getting it now. But it's probably you can't bring someone in like Will Phillips at 350k. So I don't think we really need to spend too much time on him. He's just there. But
I mean, he's had the same role for 3 weeks. The only game, I mean, he had a 99 last week, but it was 70 a week before, and then
he's going really well. But
it was Greenwood and Simpkin both went out before half time. And so, I just think it's really hard to say that this is the type of score you can get in the future. I'll just say, this is someone who preseason as a rookie. Would have loved to have him as a rookie, ride him up to 350, 370k. Some still did anyway. They actually ended up having him pretty much
sit him there.
Whole time. But, can't trade him in. Bad buy. He's not a keeper. He's already kind of made the money that he's going to make. So I think this is a big no.
Yeah. So I still think Keays stands out in that range of one that could have the best chance of being a keeper for the season, and because we'll speak about Fyfe now, he's a lot lower, obviously, price, so he's a bit different of a pick. But I think, Keays, if keeps a role, will have a much better scoring than him. So look, we could quickly speak on Fyfe. I guess we could have lumped him in with the rookies at the end as well. But off the bye, we'll play through for you. Has been getting some more mid-time the last couple of weeks. JD's about 40% or so, right? Which is what you thought he might get at the start of the year, but that didn't eventuate. He's had some niggles. Obviously, his foot's been bothering him. He seems to have, at least managed that somewhat to start playing some full games. So that's the positive side. But I wouldn't be picking him to make you money. Or as a premium on-field keeper, you'd be picking him to. Hopefully give you some cover, give you some good scores through the buys. Richmond this week is obviously a pretty nice matchup. And then, if you're in a great position, just keep him on your bench as a bit of a, swingman between mid and forward. So 26 break even's pretty much got to be now. And see if he can help you this week, JD. But, you don't obviously make much from going down from someone as you would to just a rookie. So,
I mean, I think the benefit with Fyfe is that he's got CBAs. Secondly, he's best 22. Third, he's shown that he scored hundreds in the past, and that's more than you're getting from a lot of the other downgrade targets that are going to be on the radar. The risk is the injuries and whether he's at full fitness, but he's now got a month of games under his belt, even though there's been some subs with a week off. I'd say those are good signs. I mean, if you want to take him re-signing as another positive that his body can't be all that. I think you can actually wait a week. I was thinking about this. Most people don't need him or his scoring this week. So trading him now and having the injury risk is the concern. So maybe you could wait a week, even though he's got that low break even, pick him up at more like the 270k next week when it's just the 2 games you need him to get through to cover you through those buys. And then you can flip him out for cash at the end of the year. But he is a little bit of a different proposition to the rest of in the sense that it's probably more about making cash and having buy cover, and there's no way that you're expecting him to be a F6 for the year.
Any quick thoughts on Fyfe, George? I think you'll have a spreadsheet that would relate to him, maybe?
We don't have enough time for Fyfe injury list.
I mean, what's the purpose of getting him? I guess it's to get scores in round 14 and 15 and then cover you for the rest of the year, basically. For his price, it's not like the worst. Like, he's too injury prone for me. The way I've set up is I'm hoping Roberts will come back. He can be covered late, and also Eddie Ford hopefully gets DPP, and those two can cover me for the year. Fingers crossed. That's sort of where I'm at, but I don't know. I can't really find 250k to throw on the bench for the year. I'm not in that position, so not the worst play, but injury is too high for me. Could be a smash pick, but yeah, I don't know.
Hypothetically, he comes out this week, scores a low 90s, and has 60% CVAs. Are you jumping on him next week?
No, I can't.
Still not. Yeah, you'd want to have got him.
The reason to not pick him is durability for me. Like, that's my reason for not. And I'm not really in a position to anyway. So let it go. And if you have him and does well, which I can see happening for sure, then yeah, it'll be good.
A full Elsa on that one for you, George.
Sorry, say that again.
Let it go. Full Elsa. Let it go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Frozen reference for all the.
I didn't get it either.
That's all right.
Yeah, you know,
we'll lift your cultural understanding, boys. Don't worry about it.
More of a Toy Story.
As the year progresses.
Yeah, you don't care as much durability with a 240k guy, but he might benefit this week, right? O'Meara's out. You might get a bit more mid-time this week. Obviously,
fresh off the bye.
Us MJ owners hope that'll be the case with him.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we got the bailout options there. Went to them first as a bit of more fun talking point. Now let's get to some that obviously some of them will be more proven. And again, off the bye, we're just going to talk mainly the guys off the bye. I mean, you're not going to be most likely trading in anyone with, the bye this week or the round 14, maybe, and then definitely not the round 15, I wouldn't have thought. So these are all the guys most people are going to be looking at to obviously help them through the buys and for the rest of the year. So we're going to pit them up against each other and probably do, really it's just defense and midfield I see with these guys. There's no real forward options from these teams.
I mean, assuming you have Goulden and Dunkley. Like, if you don't have Goulden and Dunkley, then but they're very expensive.
Get them into your team, Look, maybe Goulden's pretty expensive and you might avoid, but off the bye, it probably just makes too much sense if you're looking for the last forward. But we'll start with defense with the three guys here. Sinclair, Ryan, and Lloyd. I already own Sinclair, and then a lot of looking Jake Lloyd's way. So, I mean, we'll start with Sinclair. He's been very up and down lately. Had that obviously monster game, but in between a couple of stinkers. I sort of said it after I got him, kind of regretted it before I did, knowing that he's just been getting too much mid-time sparingly for my liking. Like, we'd prefer him to just be cross half back and lapping up the old cheap kicks like most of our defenders do. And that's just simply not the case. Look, I already have him. I can't speak on getting him in, but George, you do as well. If you had none of these guys and you were looking this way, where would you be looking? And maybe your thoughts on Sinclair first up.
I'd go back to the well with Jakey boy.
I think you knew you'd say that. I don't like all...
Nice fixture this week. I don't know. Sinclair is just driving me nuts. I don't know.
I don't like most of them, all of them, really, to be honest.
Can I just say, they all suck. Get none of them. Get them.
I know.
Well, who's your D6 then?
If people have five defenders...
Doherty. Get Doherty after the bye. Get anyone else. These guys suck. They're so bad as options. I don't want any of them. They're not cheap enough to be really attractive. Their scoring hasn't been consistent enough to love it. I don't want any. Ryan's game plan scuffed. Lloyd only benefited while Blakey was out. And, I don't know, his scoring's been a little up and down. He's had a good game. He's got a good matchup this week. I don't believe in him for the rest of the year. I just don't. And Sinclair has been moved around too much under this game plan. I also don't like him as an option on any of them. If I had to pick, gun to the head, I still take Sinclair. You can never make me buy Ryan. I will never own Ryan. So I guess by default, Lloyd is 2. But I'm none of these picks for me. Thank you. If you guys want to keep discussing, that's fine. I'm going to go grab a drink of water. But that's all I have to say about the defenders. This press conference is over.
All right, see, just like an NBA player, just unhappy with the playoff loss.
Grab the briefcase and run.
Yeah, so there goes LeBron. Look, George, we know the four you really want now for this run home. You're going to have to want and have Sicily, Dacos, Dawson, and Stewart, right? They're the four that are almost non-negotiable at this point. And as you said, D5, D6, who really are they? Like, the North boys, everyone wants to jump off.
Caleb Daniel.
I know. But they've got the bad buy. So I think, gun to your head, you're probably Jake Lloyd here if someone has to finish their
Sinclair really should be the best here. I don't know what's going on. Like, how is he scoring 70s? But
how are we still talking about these defenders? Come on.
Look, I think they're okay. Then you need to fill a D6. You want to get rid of your Day or your Ziebell or Sheezel at D6. I'd be fine with any of these. I probably wouldn't go Ryan because I think the last three, they're playing a bit faster. Young's picked up a bit. Ryan's gone back a notch. Has the worst durability of the three as well. So I wouldn't bother with Ryan. But if you already had him, like, I wouldn't be upset. I don't know, Sinclair, Lloyd, whoever. I think you're probably going to get around 100 from each.
That, Young split kick-ins with Ryan last week, which hasn't always been the case. So, yeah, I mean, just no.
He's been okay the last few weeks, hasn't he? Old Hayden or Young?
Yeah, Hayden's one that has picked up a bit, but I probably still wouldn't even look that way.
Still up and down, yeah. All right, let's look the way of the mids, which is where most people, if you can have the choice, obviously should be looking this way. So these are the ones that we all want. There could be a couple other there, Chad Warner and the like, but really, would you look?
I actually realised we disrespected one of the GOAT back half forwards of last year in the last section as well. We didn't hear about I Dream Of. But that's fine. Let's talk
George
about
spoke about him on the vid, but yeah, we can't go anyway this year, can we? I don't think so.
he's
might.
Cheat code buyers. Cheat code.
I could go him over Keays actually.
No Mills this week. Bucker this week, or who's getting all those CBAs? Could be anyone.
No. Just quick on Isaac. Sometimes he looks like he's injured. Sometimes it's not. He plays through it, I reckon. But I don't know. He'd be fun on every second week. So
he lost a couple of big games and get himself back to a 93 average or something like he always does. So
yeah.
Just do it for the content, George. I dream.
Oh, yeah. Mate, I've got bloody Humphrey F5 at the moment. That's content enough.
Look, anyway. I think most people are probably, if in a position to get one this week is going to be probably looking away from Steele initially, just because the other three are there and probably more likely to be a better pick. So, look, Steele's there if you're absolutely strapped for cash and can't afford the top three. So just quickly on Steele, he's even his Steele high, I believe. So it just seems to me like there's no reason to jump on him this week. You can kind of get at least some information kind of free on him, or at least a couple of weeks of information free. Because maybe he's still got a 140. It's got to drop out, but last week was a poor score. 106 break even. So
I mean, I think he's still going to be roughly the same price in a week or two. I think you just wait and gather information rather than jumping on him now. I can see why if you're desperate for someone cheap and you just have to go and you do it, but it's a much bigger risk you could wait if you're planning on getting another mid in a couple of weeks' time. So that's the only thing. I think he's the last in terms of considerations for this week for me of these four. Does anyone not have him on the bottom of bring-ins this week?
No, I think he clearly is. That's
fourth,
why I just wanted to sort of get him out the way at the start here, because the next three are going to be where, we really want to discuss. So, I guess assuming no one has any of these, which way would you be looking? Obviously, Sarong's that little bit more, 30K. Obviously, always when you trade in players, look whether or not that will affect you in future weeks. How much do you need that 30K? Always, your own team's dependent on that. Always have a little look ahead and see. But for me, I think straight up, it's in this order that I've got them in and in order of their price. So Sarong, I'm grabbing this week. Someone I really want to own. It's been half a year at data now. We sort of see he's got the role. He's natural improvement and whatnot, and he's really taken to almost leading that midfield that he kind of is now. Really, along with Brayshaw. So
does Fyfe affect him?
Like somewhat, but O'Meara's out this week, right? So I think it's more O'Meara, Fyfe and MJ.
As well.
That definitely affects the Frere boys a little bit, but Jackson's obviously not the worst backup in the world. he's not so much your tap ruckman, which I can see why you'd argue that it is a downgrade, which I probably agree with you. Because, Big Shrek obviously often gives first use when he has a really easy matchup. So Jackson's still in there. I don't think it'll drop off will be too much, but yeah, my order would be Sarong. Number 1, Brayshaw. Very happy we picked him up. George turned the corner, with his knee, and he's playing really well. And then Neale's an interesting one. Has a really good fixture coming up. I looked at it a couple of weeks ago as well, thinking about possibly getting him before the bye, but it really opens up with obviously for Dunkley as well, as we all learn, but that's pretty irrelevant what Dunk scores these days, unless you captain him. But obviously Hawthorn this week at the G, where they may not always play well, but Neale can do well there. Then they get once it loads, the likes of North, so was it Sydney, after then St Kilda, Richmond, and West Coast. So it's pretty nice. Some teams in some average form there, and 3 of those at the Gabba. So, do you agree with that order, George? What would you have it at, and any queries with any of these?
Not really any queries. I guess Brayshaw and Neale have done it for a few years, or Neale's done it for many years, and Brayshaw's done it for 2 or 3. So I guess they have that over Brayshaw. So
over Sarong. Yeah.
Sorry, over Sarong. I'm probably going Neale over Sarong to save the money this week, but I think I'd rather Sarong. I don't know what order I'd put him in. I think Sarong, Brayshaw, Neale, I guess. But I feel like still a bit safe with Neale and Brayshaw. A bit more safer with them than Sarong because they're more proven. So, look, I'd be happy with any of them. I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
So after the tongue lashing I got from you two about Neale, I have to have Neale number 1. I'm converted, bolted on, diehard Neale. Neale 1, I'd go Brayshaw 2, and then Sarong 3. And I think this is price coming into it a little bit. I also think we're probably glossing over Brayshaw's history of being excellent in fantasy and poor in Supercoach, and I don't really know why that'll change. Even though he's looked better, I think he's always going to be capped a little bit just because of how he earns and scores his points. But I do buy in that he is better after the issues with his knee. Of rest will only help that, which I think does make him a really good buy. And then Sarong, I think he's a great option, and I've obviously been slow on the uptake. There were many times to buy him half the year, and I still don't own him. I think I don't really see too many upsides in his scoring from here. I just see negatives. So Brayshaw getting better, Fyfe into the side, Darcy out. I'm just a little bit worried about what that does to his Supercoach scoring. There's more players that can score for point down with. And given that he's 30, 40K cheaper, I'm happy to bet against him. If he was the same price, I probably do have him as number 1. I like what he's done this year. I think he's going to be a really good prospect for years to come. But price considered, history considered, it's probably Neale, Brayshaw, Sarong is how I've got them rated this week.
Yeah,
but it is. I think it's splitting hairs a bit. I think all of them are good options for those that are looking to upgrade, and all 3 of them are of any of the defenders as well that we spoke.
I was going to say,
get those DPPs going, get these mids in, and pick different defenders.
Yeah, it's night and day. I was going to say between those defender options and these mid guys. We're split. Yeah, we are trying to find the negatives, and really Steele's the only one, as we said at the start, that not too much interested in. But looking at Sarong, his season's been actually underrated. How Supercoach wise, looking more into just the scores, scores. But I think George said a few times throughout the year that in round 1 he got that attention right and scored 70. And after that, his floor's basically been 100 up until last week at the G, or 2 weeks ago. I was actually there watching the game. He just had a few early clangers. I think he has 3 in the first 5 minutes, a couple of handball clangers, and that obviously sets you back a bit sometimes. And he still mustered a 93 in the end. So, look, I really like him for the Richmond matchup this week. Neale's still an option for me going forward too, right? I'm not just disregarding him. I'll get a look at him at the G this week against the Hawks. And then see, if I want to bring him in for his little Gabba run that comes up and whatnot. His break-even's 86, right? So, could go up a little bit, but yeah.
I will say the thing with the lines that's got me interested is I feel like all of their mids scored much better in the last month to kind of like the first month of footy. I think something's clicked. Dunkley started quite slow, but he's been really good the last month. Ashcroft was good for rookie, but then he putting all these tons together. And then Neale obviously has had kind of 4 or 5 weeks of much better output as well. And so I just have a feeling that there's been a chemistry game plan thing that they've kind of solved up to this point in the year. And I think that puts him in a really good place for him to score over the back half of the year. The reason why this is important for me is one of the reasons I was so against Neale is I couldn't see what was going to change for him to start scoring well. I needed to find a reason logically for this pick to make sense. And that's the best that I've found. So maybe that's not enough for some people, and I get that. But it just kind of, I think something's been figured out in their midfield that's kind of unlocking all of them when it comes to output on the field and then translating that into Supercoach points.
Yep. Anything to finish, George, or move on?
Move on.
Beautiful. All right, we'll move on to some of the rookies. I was just trying to type up a few of them there, but it's pretty dire. Like, I won't lie. I think you grabbed old O'Sheen Mullen this week, George, and just obviously crossing your fingers and toes that he's named when it comes to round 14. But it's not looking likely. I've been impressed.
Don't even need him, bro.
Yeah,
if you even lose a minute of sleep over the thought that there's a single shred of hope that he's in that side come round.
We are talking with
bro. Some people had James Sicily and had 6 premiums out already. So I got the score. I got Tom Stewart in. I'm fine with it.
Okay, all right.
Who are you downgrading to next? No, I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware of that.
Okay.
You only went him if you facilitated to help you this round significantly, which it did. Got me 90 points, so we'll see.
Look, and I was about to say, there's a few old Cats players that are pretty injury prone, so never know. Duncan might do another something at training or whatnot. So he actually has been.
The only thing that gives me some hope. Sorry, cut you off. Gives me some hope is that I think Chris Scott loves him. He wanted to play in round 1.
Yeah.
So look, I'm fully expecting him to be omitted, but I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah. Fahey obviously came on against the Tigers, and look, there's obviously we've already spoken about some of the injuries they already have that are due back soon. So, look, if he's named, you could go him. Doesn't have a great buy anyway, so I'm not sure how much he'd help you. I've mentioned before, I think George did earlier, the Harvey Harrison, is it, from Collingwood. They actually have a few injuries that they copped on the weekend. So there is a chance he continues to play, but he'll play his second right this week if named. Then has the bye, so, maybe if he's named
again,
15.
Lipinski, Elliott, and McStay are all coming back. So even if you factor in McCreary out and De Goey out, there's probably a pretty good chance that he ends up being another change as well.
When he was named, I always thought he was a charity, just West Coast, give him kid a game, and he actually looked okay. Scored 50.
Yeah, I thought he looked good when he had the ball in hand. I think he looked like he would be a fine scorer if he had job security.
Yeah. And then it gets really dire. We've got O'Donnell there. George does. I think he's played 4 games? Was that his rise from? He's still won 15k. So he's been playing forward for whatever reason.
Cadman raced to 102k. Well, he's actually going on.
Playing like that forward wing role. Darcy, I think, was a test to come back. This week, but didn't. I have a feeling that O'Donnell might go out of the side when Darcy comes back. So I'm pretty worried about job security, to be honest, on him. Beyond the obvious fact that he hasn't scored well. I think he's gone backwards in price. Oh no, he started at 102, didn't he? But anyway.
He probably could go down soon. Look, that's why it's pretty dire. So really, the only ones that might be actually worthwhile longer term Lewis Malikan, who has played 1 game, scored an 87, which is pretty nice. But obviously, first game, it's not too relevant to cash made. But he's one that you could get in and hope keeps his spot. Just becomes your D7 cover as we get rid of the likes of Weddle and all that Seamus Mitchell and whatnot. And I think most maybe still have like a Constable in the other bench spot. So someone that might end up being a D7 if he can hold his spot, but that's something that's obviously in question. Rampy back soon. Tom McCartan still TBC, but might come back eventually. So he's up there at 170. I saw Phoenix Spicer there at 149, but I don't really want to talk about him too much. But he did just score a 60. He did just score a 60. So I'll give
playing
him
a bit high up. Playing a bit high up the ground in the first half. Then I think Ford kind of switched with Ford. Ford played a bit higher in the.
It's easily the best game he's played this year. Looking at him, so he went okay. But moral of the story is, if you need a downgrade this week, it's not looking good, and I do need one. So it's come to the point where.
If you don't have MJ, then I think like MJ is one that you even though he's 216k.
But he's at 216.
And then this is where Fyfe comes in at 40 or whatever it is. Like that's why.
Well, to get my upgrade done, I need a cheaper rookie. So I might look the way of Jackson Binns if he gets named straight up debuting, and just do it there, because it's not really a spot that I'll rely on too heavily. As long as he plays in like round 14, say for instance, it'll help me there. So. Probably just a case of the best debutant that gets named for me, or I can find a way to get Melican, but that means I'll be trading Weddle. So all these are obviously team dependent, but I think clearly if the best is probably Melican if he gets picked. But
who's paying 170 for their final downgrade? That's too much, unless it works for you. But I don't know.
Hey George, I didn't say it was the smash pick. I said it was the best this week, and that's a simple fact. There isn't much. There isn't much.
Maybe MSD fault comes up soon. So there you
go. The West Coast Marriage, I think there's a pretty good chance he gets a debut just straight up. They've been playing BFL guys for like 2 years. Why wouldn't they play him?
Yep. And if he was to play, I'd probably go him. So, not looking great this week if you need a downgrade, but it's maybe a week where a lot of people bank cash and just maybe doing the straight upgrades. So,
Ziebell to Benjamin, 150k.
Anything else, boys, before we move on to some captains and then finish off with some questions? I think there's
much
else we missed.
Let's just some of these dead rookies to come back. We need green dots.
Oh yeah.
If there was ever a time for people to etch his name into Supercoach folklore for years to come, it would be this week.
If he manages to ever come back, I will be gladly surprised. But it'd be grouse, because round 14, 15 is the only place we'll need him. After that, he can go play VFL the rest of his life if he wants. I don't care. But
be hard to play when he's in China.
Along with his captain, Ziebell. But speaking of captains, boys, what are we looking at this week? I think it's a really good week again, sort of options-wise. You can talk yourself into quite a few this week. And with the...
And who do you talk yourself into?
Who am I got him on? Who am I thinking?
Who have you talked yourself into? Yeah.
Oh, talk myself into? Oh, well, about 5 different ones. Like getting in Sarong this week against the Tigers looks nice, but obviously that's maybe a captain, not a VC. English against Port. Rowan even Thursday night against Swans Rucks is not bad. Nick Dacos in another big, Monday afternoon medal on offer clash, but that's obviously a late C. There's plenty. So I think most will default maybe to an English off a big score with a good matchup against Lycett or whoever ends up playing. You could look Dawson and Laird's way against West Coast at home. Crows are a different team at home. They tend to beat up on teams at home, even the good teams. So that does entice me as well.
I'd probably go English into Dawson, but I do like Merritt or a Freo boy.
I think I'll be bypassing English, which seems stupid, but Dawson may be better VC because he has only been going, maybe just a straight tons at the minute into a Freo mid. I've been trying to nail a Dawson, get one of his 150s that I missed for a few weeks and just haven't come on. So, as I said, JD, there's heaps. What are you looking at?
I There's so many. In terms of what I've got on right now, it is English vice captain. I liked what from him going back to that playing as the extra midfielder role, although I'm, of course, concerned with the Port matchup, whether or not he's the right one with, but I think promising enough. And for a VC, you are looking for that high ceiling, which English has proven at a number of points throughout the year. He looked like he was back to early season English. And then for captain, I've probably got it on Brayshaw at the moment if I'm bringing him against that nice Tigers matchup. I think he went 1-9 one of the last couple of games they played against him, but I'm less sure on this. I don't really love Brayshaw as a captain option. I think he's once again a high variance player. I feel like I can't trust the GWS boys against North though. Merritt, I don't fancy as much against the Blues midfield, especially if they're returning. And then I don't know if I can really trust Petracca or Oliver into the Pies. So I think that's where I'm struggling at the moment. Ed didn't have a great week, got tagged. I think O'Neale could go to him. So no, don't necessarily love him as a captain option. Neale again. Well, I don't know, man. There's so many matchups that look good on paper, but none of the captains are giving me that warm, fuzzy feeling at the moment. George, can you help us out? Have you just
English against Lyjet into Brayshaw, but I'm going Dawson. English into Dawson for me. But yeah, if you don't have Dawson, then I think Bray. I like Merritt too, but if you don't like him, that's all good.
Dare I say it's a week everyone wants to just get the old VC out the way Thursday, Friday night and forget about it.
Yeah.
Jake Lloyd VC against St Kilda.
I'm Thursday night VC's cursed. It's Friday that's been blessed this year. So that's why I think English has got to be the VC as much as Marshall is an interesting one. By the way, just quietly, I've been cruising the West Coast Big Footy board looking for Marich debut calls. The one that they think debut is Barnett, who's 117k ruck. So maybe keep an eye out for that.
Sweet.
Smells like
ruck
cover.
only. I can't get him. Boo.
Oh.
No forward status. Damn.
Oh, okay.
Because Marich is forward, right? In Supercoach.
Yeah, he is. He's just a forward.
Super what?
Super, you heard me. All right, time for questions. To wrap it up, I'll get them on screen as well. I chucked the tweet out today to get some action going on there. I'll get this off the screen so we can see JD's head. I don't know how many there are, boys, but we'll. As we always do,
Crazy Frogs.
We are the People's Podcast. No, I've never said that, but we'll answer all of them, and we'll ask you guys to be more concise, as we haven't been in recent weeks answering questions. But he obviously asked Ashcroft and Ziebell to Brayshaw and Neale, probably going to hold for us the year. Briggs at R2 with 3 trades left, Jaws. That sounds like something you'd love.
Agreed. Lock it in. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yep, tick it off. 3 trades
Supercoach
means that you're in a really risky spot, but whatever.
Yeah, hopefully cash in the bank. Maybe if Briggs gets to like 500k, you could make a swap to someone.
I assume that means it has to be Briggs, which actually probably means I wouldn't do that trade. But anyway, whatever.
Fyfe, Himmelberg.
Rating
okay,
them.
this I don't know if we're rating because is that trade out? Is he got a boost left and he's trading all 4 to these 4?
No, if he's trading those to those, that's a troll because the bottom 4 are still a better scoring group from here. But it's not
we spoke about that in the pod, so I think we didn't speak about Yo. I mean, I can't trust him to put enough games together, but he will score if he plays.
Yeah.
I mean, his body has been as cursed as Fyfe's at this point. Maybe a little bit less, but he's 100k more. Yeah, I love him as a player. It's just 50k. It's even riskier than Fyfe is.
It's good to see old Relton Roberts not ask about Neale Bullen this week.
Yeah.
He's got Harris Andrews this time, so I spotted the troll. You can't fool me.
Don't even read it. Piss off, Relton.
Chris, ignoring the bias to finish aside, is a Fyfe Butters Oliver combo worth the risk over 3 low 500k guys?
Interesting.
Use the trades, bro. You got 6 left. You got
If you have 6 left,
proper
yeah.
F6.
Go
Use
to
2 to
the-
get a proper F6. Go to
Yeah.
4.
So with left, I'd much prefer Fyfe Butters Oliver, and then you can do something with Fyfe eventually, especially if you get a couple of weeks that having to use an injury trade. Fyfe makes a bit of money. I'd go the top one.
Yeah, then you just go down to 4, get your last player. Hopefully you've got some cash on the bench. If I decide to trade Ziebell, can only afford a similar price player. I reckon it's worth doing DCam, Lloyd, or Hayden Young.
Oh,
So
we didn't
obviously
even really talk about
Jacob
DCam,
Boy.
but
No, we can talk
DCam
about
is
him
a
now.
smash. Yeah, he's an absolute lock of a pick for my F6 spot from here. He's at the right price. He provides ruck cover. I saw enough on the weekend, even though it was against West Coast, to think that he's going to be a lot of thereabouts the rest of the year. I enjoy watching him play. I want to root for him to win. I don't want to anti-pot him. So I'm waiting until after his bye, but if you can take players on the bye, I've got no problem bring him in this week because it'll be his cheapest price for the year, rest of the year, I'd imagine, from here.
Yeah, I think, George, you just wait one more week. You want to, don't you? See, and then
Yes.
after bye.
Proper look. No reason why he shouldn't be good, but yeah, bit burnt from this year trading him in.
Kotzi says, currently looking to complete my team with 3 injury trades, trading in Neale and Oliver, and sideways one of Sheezel or Ziebell at their bye. The DC, is it worth trading one of them early to save money but lose points on Cameron's bye?
Yes, for me.
Yeah, I think it is too.
You're going to lose way too much money.
Yeah, I think you just if you want Ziebell gone, you do it now. You can't
what's
really
Ziebell going to score on his bye? He could shit the bed on the week that Cameron has the bye.
So I guess it depends on what the impact of the losing is. So is losing the money meaning that you may not be able to get DCAM? If so, then you have to do the trade now. But if the money just means you've got less cash in bank with your 3 trades left, I'd rather get the points through the buy than the cash in bank. Cash bank earns you no money unless an injury happens and you get an upgrade. I'd rather get the points in the buy, unless it means there's a risk you can't get Darcy Cameron, in which case get Darcy Cameron and lose the points in the buy. Hopefully that's...
Unfortunately, JD, that's all in Jack Ziebell's hands for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
How much he loses, so who knows? But I do agree with you. If you could get to the buy and make the switch, then you'll get more points, obviously. But hey, he might be all right for those buys. And maybe
if you have more money in the bank, then something happens. You can get to a better premium and get points back that way.
Yeah.
I would take the points hit.
It's not really a hit, right? You're just not getting an advantage by doing the swap, right? He's still copping a buy. So,
I mean, it might be at 17 with no Ziebell.
True.
If you trade a Ziebell, you just may have one less.
Without seeing your team, it's hard. But yeah, we don't know how well off you are for the 14-15. Clary's Colt says, who are the best 5 primos coming off their bye? We sort of spoke about that before.
Yep.
Hard to go between 2 positions, but yeah, we did rate those before. So,
I mean, yeah, basically in the order that he's got listed, I think is about right.
Yeah. Chris, trade Ziebell to 5 so I can get Clary for a Ford around 15, or Ziebell to Ryan and have Humphrey and Ford as my only non-2 primos. It's again a bit harder to know how many trades, what you can do, but
anything with Ryan on one side and Clary on the other, and smashing the Clary side, I don't care.
Yeah,
give me Fyfe and Clary.
Yeah, hard to analyze beyond that. So yeah, I probably agree there. Clary's pretty high priority to get back in post his bye. Corey says, is it worth trading a Marshall so Briggs can play on field if that means I can get 2-for-1 upgrades? Again, I'd love to do this if I had 14 trades, but I don't. So if you did, I'd honestly consider it. Rowan is at 610, 12K at the moment. So, it could be a thing where you get him back cheap or whoever looks, maybe Shrek once he's back, but that's again risky. So yeah, look, I'd love to do it. I did it in fantasy. I traded Rowan out, said stuff, but I don't care too much. And it worked 1 week. We'll see what happens. Rowan can obviously still go well, but for Supercoach, it's harder. How many trades you got, all that jazz really does play a massive part. So
can't trade Marshall now.
Yeah, you had to do it last week, really, to get... Yeah. I mean, I assume he has Briggs R3, right, George? So he just wants to get Marshall's money out and put it somewhere else.
Yeah,
I'll trade English if you have him before Marshall.
Would you really?
Extra score.
Yeah, I know, but people didn't look
tissue.
English's way this week because of the bye, and he just went 160, which you could do again this week. Like,
Especially
That is true.
I would just not touch him until he collapses, if he ever does. Seems like this year.
I think if he wants to run Briggs Artery to fix his team, like I'm not against that.
Yeah, well, Marshall's the more expensive one right now, George. That's the funny thing. So they're basically the same price.
No, he's planning to run R2 for the rest of the year. Are going to find themselves in a spot of bother at some point.
Yeah, join Crazy Frogs. It could work for somewhat. Briggs can honestly do 100. I actually can see him doing that.
He could. I like what I've seen so far. I just don't
Yeah.
buy that he'll come for the full back half of the year. Although we with Ruck said breakout like this. Marshall did it. Cameron did it. It happens.
Yeah, Ruck's a good role, and he actually looks good. Looks a good player. Fantasy with AST, Himmelberg or Keays, we spoke about before, but I think if punting on one for the rest of the year, you'd probably go Keays. I think Himmelberg is almost guaranteed to lose a role, whereas Keays is at least a chance of keeping it for the season.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's an easy way to wrap that up. Jacob, who is the best option out of Neale, Spray, and Anderson? Anderson obviously doesn't play this week, so a little bit harder, but I would go Spray personally just, and then Neale. I think both are pretty good though, so...
Spray's Andy Brayshaw.
For anyone wondering, yes.
Yes. I like him too.
Ziebell to Himmelberg, Taylor and Cumming return up the buys. Pretty much what we have said. So, yeah. I'd probably avoid doing something like that. I'd just... Maybe he can't go Ziebell straight to Brayshaw, but if you could do that, I would just do the one trade, right? And Baker's actually at a decent price. Maybe... I would, yeah, as I said with my team, maybe jump on a just debutant like a Marek or Binns if they get named and just do Baker down to one of them and to go Ziebell to Brayshaw, and then you probably have a bit of cash left over for your next upgrade. I wouldn't bother with Himmelberg. I think you boys are on the same page.
Yeah.
Old Sean Pro, member of the Discord. I think he's going very well, right? Up there.
Yeah.
Pretty high. Better to finish your team low on trades or finish with a few fake primos, have a more wriggle room. I guess that's down to the individual, right? We can't predict how many injuries we'll get in the run home. It could be 6, it could be 1. Like, I think if you're in his position, you probably just go for it and get a bit of Abdul 2022 about you and just go for it.
The biscuit.
Just go for it. Like, you're here to win the whole thing, and you're not going to do it being conservative. I wouldn't have thought so.
Don't know.
Obviously, depends who these fake
depends
primos
how
are,
many
but
you
I
feel
guess
comfortable with. I'm going down to 2 injuries, so injury trades, which I would have been fine with last year. But look, it could fall apart in 1 week. Who knows? So I'd probably go down. I don't know, 4 if you can. Down to 3 would be risky, but somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
If you got cover or not.
I mean, you get a lot of points trading your fakes in the buys, so think of it that way.
Yeah. Jimmy asked a question we pretty much answered at the start of the pod, so he'd probably watch that
round
already.
15, the worst, just reinforces that it's
the Kanga
Ziebell.
guy.
Yep.
Who's the best MSD player to go early on? Well, we'll see Thursday if any get named, but if not, I think it probably would be Marek, right? You would think get a debut at some point, whether it's not this week, so probably him.
Maybe Harry Arnold.
Or
Ready to
him
go
as the
intercept
second one.
defender.
Yeah, but harder team to crack into. Not a team sitting bottom 2 or bottom and being in absolute dire straits. Ben says how many injury trades you're willing to go down to. Sort of answered that, I guess, but everyone's a bit different on your risk tolerance. It's really an option. I think JD's tried to shut him down 3 weeks in a row, and he's just gone, as one would say, bang, bang, bang. So
he got 9 coaches.
He looks confident.
Did he really? Yeah, he's taking some good grabs. That was
like
Ridley
2021 Ridley.
Yeah, absolutely cooking.
The confidence through the roof.
Must say, I really enjoy Ridley as a player. Like outside of Supercoach, he's one of the ones I do like watching, especially when he's in set marking games on point. Again, I think we saw again that he does have a little bit more license with his kicking. He's taking on the game a touch more with it, which is good because the long effective kicks get you a bit more than those short effective stab ones. But yeah, I'm still not a believer that this pick is it for the run home.
He lands like an absolute cat when he takes a mark. Like just he's landing. I don't know.
He's got like the weird limbs as well. Like it's like he's sneaky. Yeah.
but he gets bloody high and takes some good intercepts for sure. Yeah, he's there. But pick 2 to keep out of the year. That's a more interesting question with Briggs in there as well. For the year, I'd say. Yeah.
I'd keep Briggs and Day still out of those 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you just risk Briggs at R2. I actually don't mind him, but we'll see. Who's the best 580k and under pick in all lines for this week and beyond?
Neale, 577.
I guess so.
Neale.
Brayshaw doesn't quite make that, so yeah, Neale.
Well, Dawson at this week, is he sub 580?
I think he might just be over that by a smidgen.
5,800. Jeez, that would have been an easy one. Rosie's 580, 900. Otherwise, it could have been that one. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we're obviously.
Neale. I mean, Tom Green at 560 is like ridiculously cheap for those that don't have him. Yeah, that's probably where you look. Oh, otherwise, Doherty I think is still sub 580.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I'd just be looking for the extra score with Primo's off bye.
Sure.
SC Hawk, rank these in order coming off the bye. So I've done this a bit, but yeah, Sarong, Brayshaw, Neale was sort of consensus, and then defenders. No one really cares, but maybe Lloyd's probably number 1, and then
Lloyd, Ryan Young.
Yeah,
I'd probably still rather have a punt on Young over Ryan, such as my dislike for Ryan. But anyway, that might be wrong. That might be bias.
We'll speed up. The Duke, we've answered that a number of times. Chincotta to Fyfe worth trading. If you have the trades, sure. But obviously that's just going down to one less trade. But he could be cover, obviously, for you for the year. Thoughts on bringing Keays and Fyfe in for Ziebell and having them be the cover would bring me down to 4 trades. If one of them can bust, can hope to upgrade them. That's not a bad position if you have still 4 trades. Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Looping Fyfe and Keays each week. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Trade 1, Ziebell, Sheezel, Sard. I don't even take much notice of Sard, but he's fallen off a cliff, I think, with Doc back there. So, oh boy.
You got to stick with Sard.
Yeah.
Trade Ziebell still.
Yeah. That's tough. The Bull. Loving all the podcast YouTube videos. Thank you very much, mate. No question for me, but keep on the content. Love watching you all go from 10 games to 1 game better. Thank you very much, Bull.
Yeah. If you are active on Twitter, he's
yes,
out and about.
Very...
Someone I see pop up in my feed all the time. So give him a look. A very active member of the community.
Mike says he's trading Sheezel Sarong luxury trade at all. I mean, obviously, yes, it definitely is, but yeah, said a number of times, depends how many you have left after doing that. But yeah, that would feel pretty good doing it. But it also cost you about 150, I think that does. So yeah, got to weigh it up, mate. Thoughts on Fyfe? We've sort of spoken about him a bit. I won't go over the same stuff. Sort of done that as well. See if there's anything
the best on each line.
Different question here. Sort of gone over most of these now.
Marshall English trading we talked about in order to field Briggs. I think not. I don't want Briggs at R2 for the year. So yeah, I would.
Yeah, not trade those two. I think it's too late. You probably had to do Marshall to Briggs last week if you wanted to go down that path.
I'm sorry, like you just you don't trade out the R1 for a cash play this time of the year. You need to be having these top guys. Yeah. So no.
Yeah. And then I think here with Briggs going to Marshall again, you just bench Briggs. You made his look. It might seem like he might score better than Gorn next little bit, but
I did see a Twitter poll I think on this today, and I reckon Briggs was leading the 66%, 33%, like 2-1 in favor of Briggs to outscore Gorn this week, which I think I'm not a betting man obviously, but I'd bet Gorn 2-1 odds. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know Gorn's record on King's birthday, but he obviously didn't play with Grundy previous years. That wraps it up, fellas. Thanks for another week. Been a bit of a long one, but yeah, much to talk about as usual. Yeah, hopefully we can make some ground during the buys. We'll assess it right at the end. But yeah, this week's a weird one. You know, 2 teams on bye, best 18 scores. It's
Normal round,
I remember
basically.
pre-season we were wondering what it would be, and obviously best 18 just makes it, you probably sleep a bit easy here. It's probably only things you can do is absolutely nail your captain for a really good score. And other than that, you should be pretty fine, I would have thought it. Yeah, I'm interested to see actually what happens with the scoring and ranks this week. There's just going to be that one primo that goes 150. If you don't have, then you're probably going down. It's as simple as that, really. All good. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fantasy Take TV podcast. We'll catch you maybe for a stream on Thursday. Haven't done one for a couple of weeks. See you there with the lineups. But other than that, we'll catch you on the next one.